So I've been teaching this meditation almost 4 years actually, and I know it doesn't show. And my main work is in psychotherapy. I've worked as a psychotherapist for probably about 10 years. And since I started teaching meditation, I've also started doing energy healing work and stuff like that alongside this. So it's sort of a mixture of backgrounds that I teach from. But probably the place I most frequently go back to when I'm teaching, when I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about what to speak about, or I'm feeling, what to speak about, so much of the time it's coming from my own experience. And it's purely just sharing things that I've learned in myself, or things that I've conquered in myself, or things that I've kind of discovered along the way. It might be things that I've read in books, it might be things that I've read in websites and things like that. So this is really just a space for sharing. I'm not really qualified to teach anybody anything. And that feels like an accurate thing to say, because I'm not really an expert on anything. I'm not even really an expert on myself. But I'm a good talker. And I get something out of sharing what I've learned, or what I've experienced, or what I've found beneficial to me. And by sharing it, I hope that there's something that you find also helpful or beneficial in that. And if you do, great. And if you don't, I can't really do much more than that. Yeah. So in how we participate here, this is really, it's kind of an active participation in a way. You know how sometimes we can have an impression that meditation is when we switch off. And for me, meditation is actually where I switch on. When I sit to meditate, it's where everything else in my life has to wait. So whether it's my diary, or my phone, or my breakfast, or my whatever, that's being asked to wait while I sit and find out what's going on in me. So for me, it feels more like switching on than switching off. But back in the old days, before I started meditation, I definitely would have had the impression that meditation was more about tuning out or zoning out and switching off to things, switching off to the rest of my life. But that hasn't been my experience. And what resulted in that, so when I started doing meditation, before I even started doing japa mantra as a practice, I didn't really know anything about meditation apart from having heard about it, yes? So when I first began sitting to meditate, all that I encountered in myself was just noise. It was the noise of my thoughts. It was the noise of my emotions. It was the noise of everything that was bothering me, stressing me. It was the noise of my work or my schedule or everything that needed to happen in that day. And I couldn't find any space in the midst of that. It was like having several TV channels on at the same time and trying to watch all of them and try and take it all in all at the same time. And I was worn out from that. But I didn't really know any better. All that I knew was that this is everything that I'm trying to handle today. And more often than not, I was handling a fraction of it. So when I sat to meditate and I began discovering everything that was going on, it took me a little while to figure out, how do I even get a handle on this? How do I get a handle on my mind? I always had a wild imagination. Even as a kid, I would be lost in my mind. I would be lost thinking about things, daydreaming and imagining and fantasizing and things like that. That wasn't an easy thing to try and change or rein in any way when I was trying to meditate and be zen and be calm. It was a struggle because I was trying to do something opposite to what my mind really wanted to do. And I began to discover a space where if I asked what was going on inside me and I asked what I could give attention to in that meditation, something always came into my awareness. And it wouldn't be 10 different things. It would just be one thing when I asked. So without fighting with it or trying to prioritize, is this really the most important thing that I can pay attention to today? I just kind of went with it. just decided, okay, so this is what's coming up today. This particular emotion or this particular situation or memory or whatever it happened to be. And I decided just to give that the space while I was trying to meditate. And as I did that, I began noticing that something changed. Either I would let myself feel something that I'd been distracting myself from feeling, or trying to not feel, holding back from feeling. And a lot of the time my mind was getting in the way of that. My mind would want it to be clear, first of all. Well, I want to know, why am I feeling this? I want to understand what this feeling is fully about. When actually all that my inner world needed was just to feel it. And that was enough. Just that it was acknowledged, it was enough. Something would move or change or transform in that. And then I would feel lighter, I would feel relief. After a couple of weeks of practicing that, I began to feel that I had space. My work schedule wasn't any different. The life of Emer wasn't any different. But I felt I had more space. Everything just felt a little bit easier to manage. So where my phone was busy, at the time I was working in quite a busy job doing case management. That phone would ring. You'd be on a call and you'd hear the beeps of the other call coming through. That was constant, yeah. And it would stress me out. You know, after about an hour of that in the morning, I would be wound up. But after meditating a few weeks, I began to notice that I had a little bit more space. That didn't stress me out. It was just like, yeah, I'll call them back afterwards. I just began responding to things as they happened, because I had enough space for that.